You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott along with Brady Kannon and his best bets. Let's get some winners this week. Brady again, former Westgate Superbook NFL handicapping champion back in 2011, so he knows the landscape here. And a lot of teams coming off of buys this week. It'll be interesting. I know that Randy McKay certainly studies those heavily as well. Let's get to it right there in one of those teams, and that is the Carolina Panthers hosting the Houston Texans. Battle of highly drafted rookie quarterbacks in Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Again, Houston a 3-point favorite at Carolina, Brady.
Yeah, Jimmy, 6 teams on a bye last week, and I think that creates a lot of handicapping opportunities for teams coming out of the bye, and actually a couple of different situations present here in this game between the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. And if you look at the Houston Texans, they're on a little bit of a roll going into their bye. The season win total on this team prior to this season kicking off was 6. They're already halfway there. They've got three wins due the Houston Texans. So they go into that break probably feeling a little bit fat and happy, maybe go on vacation a little bit. They've accomplished a lot. They've had a lot of success. So those are teams I like to bet against coming out of the bye. When they go into that break, on a roll with some momentum and some confidence, the break is kind of the worst thing you can do to them and stop all of the good that is going on for that club. In addition, the Houston Texans, before they went into that bye week, they won outright as a home underdog, and now they are cast in this game as the road favorite. Another bad situation there. Conversely, for the Carolina Panthers, they go into the bye week struggling, yet to win a game this entire season. I like to bet on those teams when they come out of the bye week because there's nothing better for those teams than a pause, a stop. Okay, guys, let's shut this down. Let's reset. Let's refocus, regroup. And they've even gone as far as getting a new play caller involved there. Frank Reich no longer going to play the calls or call the plays. So I think there's going to be some new wrinkles in this game plan. They're changing the strategy. They're trying to do everything they can using this week off to try and get a victory. So, it's a different situation for these teams going into the bye. One kind of going in hot, one going in real cold. And I think it tends to flip when you come out on the other side. I mentioned the outright win as a home dog into the role of road favorite. So a lot of different situations here in this contest that favor the Carolina Panthers, in my opinion. So I took the Panthers, the winless Carolina Panthers. By the way, winless teams coming out of their bye week, 30-11 against the spread. So I'll take the Panthers plus the 3 points.
30-11, nearly 75% for, again, Carolina coming off the bye. And that's the same philosophy that Randy shares as well, as far as, not crazy about teams going in on a roll into their bye, and some teams maybe to kind of fix some things up and get some players healthy. All right, the Chicago Bears, and now we have at least seen the first start for Mr. Bajent. I've heard it pronounced every different way. I wish we could move on from labeling him a D2 quarterback. But I do love the narratives. I like to fade narratives, and keep demeaning it. Knocking him down or selling him short. Guy can play, and I saw that in his preseason game, and so did the Bears by elevating him to the QB2, the backup quarterback behind Justin Fields. Certainly a lot different from Justin Fields. Gets the ball out ultra quick. Fields more of a running threat. It's my best bet last week, so I'm high on Mr. Badgett for the Chicago Bears after the easy win against the Raiders. Now they go to the West Coast to take on the, tell me if you've heard this before, underachieving Chargers, maybe. So the Chargers are 8.5-point favorites at home against the Bears.
Yeah, Jimmy, this was the biggest discrepancy when I crunch all of my stats and come out with what I think the line should be in the game. My average number had the Chargers favored by just 3.3 points. So over a 5-point difference from what the actual line was. And if you look at these two teams, the Los Angeles Chargers have really been kind of on the decline. the Minnesota Vikings and Las Vegas Raiders, they allow those teams, they escape with victories against both of those teams, despite allowing those teams chances in the fourth quarter. If you remember, Brandon Staley choosing to go for it on fourth down in his own territory against both of those teams, and somehow the Raiders and the Vikings are not able to capitalize. The Chargers escape with a win. Then they lose to the Dallas Cowboys. They're hammered by the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you look at the Chicago Bears, now I know they're not a great team, but they've been kind of going the other direction. They were competitive for a long time against the Denver Broncos. They crushed the Washington Commanders. They were competitive against the Minnesota Vikings despite turning the ball over a number of times. And then they go out and beat the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think you have, and like you say, the underachieving Chargers, it's starting to show up in real time here. They're poorly coached. I think Justin Herbert is off, and I don't think it's just the finger. Something is wrong. He doesn't look like the usual Justin Herbert. Maybe it's the absence of Mike Williams. I'm not quite sure. The defense is awful, and that's one reason why, I'm okay backing a Chicago Bears team. Not only are they kind of trending in the right direction versus the Chargers going in the wrong direction, the Chargers defense allows teams to hang around in games. That's why they have all these close games, because their defense can't get any stops. They can't put anybody away. The back door is always open. I think this is just way too many points. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Bears found a way to win this game outright, but probably another 3-4 point game for the Chargers here. So I'll take that boatload of points there. Even some 9s maybe still out in the market, but 8.5 is plenty on the Bears in my opinion.
So Brady, if it's 8.5 right now with Bagent or Bagent, whatever, what would it be with Fields?
Well, initially I made it a 3.5 point downgrade from Justin Fields to Bagent, but maybe it's not that big of a downgrade.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, I certainly adjusted that in my rankings. I upgraded the Bears a little bit, not only off of their performance, but adjusted my quarterback discrepancy there between the two as well. I would say it looks like maybe a 2.5 point adjustment at the most. So if Fields was in this game, I could see the Chargers being 6 or 6.5. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a big difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a touchdown swing, right?
Yes.
The other side of 7. So, no, yes. And the other thing about this game, Jimmy, that scares me a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. You could see, the coming out party for Tyson Bagent and everybody, going rah, rah over the Chicago Bears, and they regress a little bit this week. That could happen, but again, like I explained, the Chargers defense just allows teams to hang around no matter who they are, really. They just cannot put teams away because of that defense, really. And so I see the Bears being able to hang around in this game, and like I say, they'll probably have a couple chances to win it at some point.
Well, certainly Justin Fields, and boy, you forget, too, he is a big guy, too, for how elusive and athletic he is, okay? So he's bigger, stronger, faster than Bagent, but Bagent gets it out quicker. And what it does, it allows your passing game to grow, to build rhythm, to build cohesion when he is – I mean, nobody goes into practice and breaks, all right, let's, I understand, break off their routes, but, I mean – Fields, as long as he's going to hold the ball and just become playground, it just doesn't allow your passing game to grow. And so I think he has some limitations. Once he gets a number of starts, then there'll be a thing where the defenses will cheat on some things that he can't do. Can he throw, that 20-yard out on the line where you got to guard him, from hash mark to hash mark or hash mark to opposite sideline. So we'll see, but I can make a strong argument that Bagent might be better than Fields in certain matchups. I think it's that tight. So.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. They are obviously different style quarterbacks, and styles make fights. So, yeah, there's certain times when Fields might be the guy, and who knows? We'll learn probably a lot more about Bagent this week, but I don't disagree with you. I see what you're saying. The other thing is, any quarterback, and especially a young quarterback, is greatly aided by a good running game. And the Bears really did it on the ground to the Las Vegas Raiders. And really, if you just look at the stats, the Raiders have a better defense than the Chargers. So I expect the running game to be a big asset for the Bears and Tyson Badgett once again this week.
I think he's going to be fine. And I'll still take, where the, maybe it's bumped him a little bit, with his performance last week. I think it's still got a little ways to catch up. So we'll see. Maybe to make an analogy, Colorado against TCU, I still thought they had a little catching up to do against Nebraska. And we saw that in Game 2. Get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. Brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. All right, one teaser to this week for Brady and your top 3 picks. All right, games are Denver hosting Kansas City. Second time in 3 weeks that they will play. Kansas City -7 against Denver. Detroit -8.5 against the Raiders. That one is in Detroit. You're going to tease them both down. Looking at a Kansas City-Detroit. Kansas City -1, Detroit -2.5 teaser this week.
Yeah, first of all, you've got 2 very good teams taking on 2 pretty poor teams. Maybe, a couple of the worst teams in the AFC, certainly. And I'll start with the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is somewhat competitive. Denver's offense is really not all that bad. Certainly average, if not a little bit above average. But that Kansas City defense, it's odd to be talking about that Kansas City defense. Usually we're talking about their, electric offense. But that defense is absolutely a very good unit this year. And we saw them hold the Denver Broncos to just 8 points, like you said, just a couple weeks ago when they met on, I believe that was a Thursday night game. But Denver, if they can get any offense going here at home, I wouldn't be surprised if this game is competitive. But I just don't believe they have enough to overtake the Kansas City team altogether and get an outright win. I'm not real comfortable laying the full 7 points here. Like I say, I think Denver can stay within that number, very possibly. But Patrick Mahomes has never lost to the Denver Broncos in his career. And I think that continues here. I think you just have probably right now the best rated football team in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, one of the teams, the bottom feeders in the AFC. Kansas City just seems to own this team, and I think they'll continue to do it. They'll do it with defense. Denver's defense, not very good. Kansas City will be able to exploit that on offense. And rather than lay the whole 7 here, I'm basically just asking Kansas City to win the game. So I'll tease them down to -1. And then, as you say, pair that with the Detroit Lions. And Jimmy, you know this. Any good team, any professional athlete doesn't like to be embarrassed. And the Lions were embarrassed last week against the Baltimore Ravens. And typically when athletes are embarrassed, they bounce back in a big way the next week. And I love what the head coach, Dan Campbell, has come out and said. He said, hey, our team was on a little bit of a high. We were feeling ourselves a little bit, and this is good that this happened to us. A good wake-up call, and I guarantee you we'll come out better on the other side and focused with energy. And I completely believe that. It's week in and week out. Dan Campbell seems to say the right things, and I think he's right once again, and I believe they will absolutely come out storming out of the gates at home on a Monday night against a clearly inferior team. And the Raiders, not only are they inferior, now you've got dissension in the locker room. Players are starting to call out the coach for his old school tactics. He doesn't have any creativity in the offense. He continues to make just asinine decisions, kicking a field goal last week. I mean, there was the one a few weeks ago when it just blew everybody away.
The Steelers game.
Yeah, the Steelers game. And then he follows.
Twice, Brady.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first one, I can give him a little bit of a pass. The second time in the Steelers game was, just ridiculous. And then he pulls it off again against the Chicago Bears. He's down 18 points at like the 5 or 6 yard line and kicks a field goal to go down 15. What good is that doing you, Coach McDaniels? Nothing. You basically scored 6 points against the Chicago Bears in that game. They score a late touchdown in garbage time that didn't even matter. This team is pathetic, and they have internal problems. So the Lions really on a bounce-back upswing situation. The Raiders continue to spiral down. I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit covered the traditional point spread, but I'll go ahead and pair them here with the Chiefs and ask them to just win by a field goal or more.
one of these little things. It's one of the little things too, but for a long-suffering franchise, when's the last time they hosted on Monday night? I mean,
they used to be the kings of Monday night, right? Remember that?
It's been a while. I don't know if a Dan Campbell team has hosted on Monday night. We've suffered through them and forced us, to interact with our families on Thanksgiving for so many years. But again, with this one, I don't know, just maybe a little extra juice, for the hometown team. Sold out the whole season, so maybe a little extra for the Lions in that spot. With playing in a standalone game. So we will see. Detroit -2.5, Kansas City -1 teaser that's available right now at BetRivers. All the numbers that we quote are current numbers at the time of the recording, available at BetRivers. For Brady Kannon, I'm Jimmy Ott on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.